Okay, here's a sequence with one shot. We're going to call this SHO 888-520. It is a simple shot. It's got a single plate. We want 8 frame handles, cut in at 1009, cut out at 1983. There's a bunch of burn in here to tell us what's going on. It's not really relevant. I've put a locator here to say this is source 01, the main plate for the bunny character. We're going to put a big CG bunny in this plate, which we can't see for some reason. There's other stuff going on in this plate, which is just a time warp. It's pretty simple. We start at 100% at the cut in. Then at frame 1439, we have our last keyframe for 100%. Then we ramp to 400% at frame 1791, and then cut out at 1981, we're at 400%. I'll call this a asymmetric ramp effect because it is really only present at one end, so we don't need handles to accommodate it at the head, but we would need handles to accommodate rebuilding the effect at the tail. So here's what I can do. If I grab these layers, which is the subcap, the frame counter, and the actual plates that I want at the duration, output them as an AAF. Call it my sequence name, put it in documents, save the AAF. It's going to say there's offline media. We're acutely aware of that. Jump over to parser.io.com. This is where we will pass our AAF into here. Now there's a bunch of options here I can choose. I want to use 8 frame shot handles for the comp. I want to keep 8 frame scan handles. I want my shot start frames to be 1009. That matches that. And I want my scan frames to be 1001. I could sync my scan and comp in frames if I was adding additional handles but for the scan, but still wanting to deliver an 8 frame comp. If I wanted to add 24 frame handles here and have my 1001 and 1009s line up with the comp frames, I could do that. In this instance, it's not going to really matter because it's only playing at 100% at the beginning of the clip. I'm going to do that anyway. Click pass. It's going to walk through the AAF, traverse the mob layers, understand what's going on. And because it's detected this asymmetric speed ramp, so there's a speed ramp only on one side of the clip, we start at 100, we go to 400%. It's going to say, hey, this shot, how do you want to handle it? There's 3 options you can do. We can treat it asymmetrically for the scan handles, giving 32 frame tail handles and keeping only 8 frame head handles for the scan, which results in this number of frames being pulled, 2182. Okay, that's kind of cool. We could ask it to treat the speed ramp as symmetrical. Even though it's not, we could ask it to pull enough handles at the head to accommodate, in theory, if that 400% ramp was through the duration of the clip. So if it was at the head, we could roll those handles in. Of course, it's going to result in more scan frames pulled. Or the third option we can do is to truncate, so that we truncate the comp to match 8 frame tail handles in the scan, which is what we've asked for. Even though that's not going to build enough to hit those 8 frame handles, it's going to say, if you do this option, this results in the comp frame handles being 8 at the head, but being truncated to only 2 frames at the tail, because the 8 frames of scan handle aren't enough to rebuild with the speed effect of 400%. So your handle at the tail would reduce to 2 frames. For whatever reason, if you wanted to do that, you can. In this instance, I'm going to choose asymmetric, so we're just 8 frame scan at the head because it plays at 100%. It's going to match the comp, and then we'll build enough to build the ramp out at the tail to hit our 8 frames comp handle. I'll confirm. I'll come in here. It's picked up the shot code from my subcap. It's got the start frame from the counter, and that we've set. And it said I've given you 8 frame handles for the comp at the head and the tail. I can put in a work order for this. This is going to be the CG bunny running down street. Okay, and it's tagged that this has a time warp effect in the comp. Now I can come over to here. Now let's pick the locator that I put on this for source 01, the main plate for the bunny character. I'm kind of happy with that, except I probably could put versions across this if I wanted on my scans. It's tagging this scan as having a dynamic time warp, which it does, and it's summarizing what the handles are on this scan. 8 at the head, 32 at the tail. It's going to start at 1001, and then it's going to give me additional information about this scan element. So that's pretty cool. I'm happy with that. Let's grab an ALE, and I can bring this into my Avid. So if I just copy this into a blank bin, which doesn't have all that extra stuff, set my bin display to show reference clips, find my master clips, import the ALE, check my options, shot log, merge events with known sources and automatically create subclips. That looks like what we want. Choose the ALE. Bam, that's imported that for me. I will just rip that out and put it up here. So that's now my scan, and it's giving me the VFX counter column starting at the frame that we asked it to. So I could quickly just cut this at the end and say, remove this effect so it shows me dupe detection properly. Have I covered the edit properly? Yes, I have. So there's the dupe detection showing me there's the handle frames that aren't covered in the edit, and there's the tail frames that aren't covered in the edit. I'll just undo that to bring that speed effect back. Now I just want to confirm that this should cut in at frame 1009. Yes. Oops. I'll put it in here. And I'll just check if I match to match frame to V1, that was 513607. 513607 on V2, and there's my scan frame counter 109. That's right. I'll steal the speed effect real quick. Take that time warp and apply it here. Just check that starting frame again, 1009, 3607, yes. And then I can just check the end. End frame in the edit was 530220, and then the scan plate 530220, 3086. Cool. So these look in sync. What I'll just do now, bring this burn in back and say, okay, where are my keyframes? Cut in 109, comp 109, scan frame 109, yes. Comp frame 1439, scan frame 1439, yes. First frame of ramp at 400%, 1791. It's comp frame 23118, so I could just go through and type these into my lineup if I was living in the past. But this is the future. So here we go. We have the shot stack built that has lined this up for me. So I can see 1439 was 1439. At 1791, I hit scan frame 2318 for my 400% speed ramp. 400% speed ramp, 1791, 2318. That checks out. Keyframe, next one is comp frame 1981, scan 3078. 1981, scan frame 3078. That looks great. And then it's built out the tail handles for me too. And it's told me the speed effect for these. And there it is. My locator comment has passed through for source 1, the main plate for the bunny character. This element contains a time warp. It's got 32 frame handles on the scan, 8 frames at the head. There's other information about the plate, how it comes together, how the time warp's applied, and then keyframes for that, and then a summary in the text as well. So I'm happy with how that looks. That's all checking out. There's my comp handles and tail handles, asking for the comp delivery. So that looks great. So I've put the scans back in my bin. I've got a record of those. I can now grab an EDL of this, which was there already. That's my scan EDL with my element and a source table at the end. So it's just one scan for this one. I can grab, if I want to put this in a shot grid, for a shot grid edit, I've got a shot grid edit EDL, which just calls your events, your shot code, and it will take the main plate, the source 01 plate, as the source time code, and that's cut in to cut out your sequence in to sequence out. I can take a TSV for the scans if I want to put this into my FileMaker or my shot grid database for scans. Is this going to let me do this? Okay, so there's my TSV, which would have a list of all my scans with the scan notes, the ID, the duration frames, and the other time code, and any 3D warp position stabilize or time warp keyframes are put into a field. If I wanted to take the same sort of TSV for the shots, I've got that too. So here we say what the sequence was, the shot ID, start frame, end frame, duration frames, duration time codes, the subcap that we have, which was a subcap burn-in, CG bunny running down the street, and then a summary of the effects. So that could go into my FileMaker or other database. But there we go. So I could take that lineup information, I could put these into my database, and now I've turned over that shot, I've got the scan in my bin, I've got the lineup information that I can output, and then I'm done. I could export this as a QuickTime. It's going to have my, scan frames burnt in. I've got that information that relates to the scan that I built, so my QuickTime can be another tool in the lineup arsenal.